Welcome to the channel. This is how I made my basic budget.
You start off by going to Google Sheets. You can just Google Sheets. Go to Sheets. Make sure you're logged in. Click a new one. I started with a blank one. This is only obviously basic. I always like to keep the first page nice and clean, just because I end up trying to summarize things all onto this page. So I'll add a new sheet. But whilst I was doing this, I was trying to remember how to do it. I was trying to find the keyboard shortcuts, but I couldn't see it. So this first page will be incomes. My wages, my partner's wages. We have children, so we have child maintenance. And that'll do for now, because this is only a very basic one. We have some other bits, but we're just going to keep it as it is for now. This, shouldn't take too long. This is really just your first starting step, just to see what's going on and see where you need to look into either saving or what you've got that you're wasting and stuff like that. So rename it income. Now this sheet is going to be our outgoings. I initially call it non-negotiables because I was going to put non-negotiables and negotiables on 2 pages, but I changed my mind in a minute. So what I'm doing here is making a list of all the different bills that I think that I'd need to pay, ones that I definitely have to pay. Rent, council tax, utility bills. I get a bit stumped. So all through this process I have my banking app open, so that I can have a look and see, where money's going through my bank. This is where I change it to outgoings, because I'm struggling already to remember at this point. I did record this screen grab when I was in hospital. That's why I've had to do a voiceover for it. So if things don't flow properly, I apologise. But, the point stands. So I would class food shopping as a non-negotiable, because you need to buy food to obviously eat. I wouldn't class takeaways as, a non-negotiable, because you don't need that to eat. And it's generally more expensive. Petrol, you'd need that to get to and from work. So, non-negotiable if you do. Potentially the amount of petrol that you need. You could, restrict, control. We don't do any unnecessary driving. So, the whole of it would be non-negotiable for us. Obviously, if you've got a car, you need car tax, car insurance. We have a phone on finance. Obviously, we need to pay, because we can't just stop paying for that. I mean, we could cancel, send it back, but we're not at that point, hopefully. I mean, we'll see by the end of this. Spoiler alert, we're not at that point. Some of the negotiables we've got there, we've got Netflix, Spotify, my phone, so that is our data plan. My partner's phone, we've got Paramount, we've got pet insurance. It actually turns out that after this, the pet insurance that I thought I was tracking was actually car insurance. Bike insurance, sorry. We had 2 lots of bike insurance going out. We have scouts for the kids. We think those activities are important. We don't mind making shortcuts, but we don't want them to be. I'm just making a new sheet here, and this is going to be sort of nice things to have, niceties. So this is where, if I find anything that, isn't an outgoing, I'll pop it there just so that I know where things are. This is where I start to tidy it up a little bit. So there's like a summary page at the front, just so you can look at a glance on how the finances are. It could be done in a lot more detail, it could be done a lot neater, but this is just the basics. So it just sort of gives you a rule of thumb, lets you know whereabouts you're up to, and hopefully it will motivate you to take the next few steps to sorting out your finances. So I do love a little cheeky formula, So I'll be there also on the spreadsheet that you can download. The link will be below. So I am currently holding my baby, and she's starting to make some funny noises, so I'll see if I can catch any for the microphone so you can hear. So here I'm just troubleshooting the formula. It's been a little minute since I've done them, so there's a couple of errors, but the one that you can download is all sorted and ready to go for you. That's just in case you want to add any extras. You can just continue down the list and add in your incomes and go from there. You're not stuck to just 3 different incomes or more or less. Same for outgoings, a big long list. It's nice and easy. And then they'll obviously just work for you. So you fill out the list, fill in the prices. It'll add it up and summarise it for you at the front. Which really, you could stop there if you wanted to get a total, but what I wanted to do was find what's left and then put in where I'd like to allocate it, so I'll do that a little bit later in the video. So these are what I think are niceties or goals to have. So if you have money left over after you've done your non-negotiables, after you've done your negotiables, it's wherever you're going to put that extra money. At this point, I'm literally just going through my banking app and seeing all my direct debits and just filling them in. Nothing too heavy. This hasn't took me very long. If you've got online banking, it is incredibly easy to do this. You can probably download your transactions, to be fair, on an Excel sheet and go from there. But this just takes so you're not then swamped with all extra transactions. You're just cherry picking the important bits that you need. At this point, as I'm going through as well, I'm seeing other direct debits that didn't spring to mind, and I'm just filling them out now. So I've realised my utility bills are split up. It's water rates and gas and electric are separate. So just looking at a glance at these, you can see that my phone tariff is a lot more than my partner's. So that means, in theory, I could, shrink my tariff down if I don't use it all, and this is how it helps you. It puts it on paper so you can see where you're potentially losing money, wasting money. So we don't actually have a direct debit for our internet because we've not long moved house, and when we did, they couldn't install it for about 3 months. So because of that, we were still paying. They put our account on hold, and then they compensated us per day that we didn't have the internet. So we've not had a direct debit come out for a good while. So because of that, I'm not actually even sure how much we pay for our internet without, looking deeply. And like I said, this is only a basic budget, so it's just figuring that out now, quickly, not wasting too much time, not over-analysing everything, not going into so much detail. It takes you hours and hours. This is just the first step. There will be time for that later if you want to. Just making sure that the formula works nicely. So that's currently what I've got left over. Now what I want to do is I want to take the leftover parts and I want to be able to allocate into different sections so I can see how much I'll be saving. As you can see, leftover. And then what I would like to put that leftover money into, this is just to make sure that there's not money left behind. It actually has a place and is going there. So in theory, after everyone's been paid in one account, all of the bills have gone out in one account, and then all this money here that I've put here, we know how much to put where. There should then be 0 for the amount. So like I said, I like a little formula, so we're going to make sure that it counts, it takes it away as you're moving down, so you know what you're playing with. You're not just putting random numbers in and hoping that it works. Just checking it works. So these things aren't things that actually are in place right now. They're just hypothetical what I would like to do. You could spend, really, you could stop here and you know where you're up to. So I know my income, my outgoings loosely, leave me with that little bit of money left over. And this is just taking it a little bit further to tidy it up. But again, without spending too much time on it. I do spend a little bit of extra time here faffing around with the formula, just to make it so it all lands on page 1, and it looks good. So this is just to show how much we're spending on our goals tab. And then while I was doing this, I thought what would be nice. So I put how much is left to allocate. That's just so that you know that at a glance, you can, so even if you fill this in, let's say you increase your income 1 month, you know that you've got more money to allocate somewhere else, and you just go in and change that around. So while I was doing this, I also thought it would be quite nice to have it as a percentage. So for example, my savings, Becky's savings, even though we know they're the same amount there, it's quite easy to see. For example, in relation to a takeaway fund, you could see how much as a percentage we're saving out of our leftover money to become to put into savings, and then that will help you be a bit more mindful, because you think if you're leftover money, you do what you like with it, but if you're trying to save money or tackle some debt, and the leftover money, you're putting half of that into takeaway, you know, that you might reevaluate that and think that's not the best use of that extra money. So this is just making sure that the formula works all the way along. There's probably an easy way to do this, but you know, there's manually typing it out. And again, the Word document that I've got down below that is good for anyone to use is has all these formulas already in place. So it wasn't just a simple case of dragging it down to make the formulas work, even though there probably is a way. I just wanted to make sure that it worked all the way across the formula, across the sheet. And then, you know, marry up the formulas just so it all looks good. Or it works nicely, sorry, should I say. And then I've put unknown, so you can just type over them. I'm just checking all the other formulas work. There you go, so look, it's showing bits left over, so it's showing you've got so much left to save, and it's showing you that on the main page. It's showing you how much that is as a cash percent, and it's also showing you how much of that leftover amount as a percentage is being left over too. So, you know, you've got more than you need. Just going to rename it basic budget, that's what it is. And you know, it shouldn't take you any more time than this, really. Maybe a little bit longer to fill it in. But if you need any help, do comment down.
Thanks for watching. Click here to see why you should be making this budget.